Well, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you are on and what time zone you are in. Ah, what a day. Fresh off getting off work. Oh, these after work shows are a killer. But I'll tell you what, I'm happy to do them because it forces me to do things I wouldn't otherwise do, and it's a good thing. Getting through this book. That's what we're here for. But I can't help but appreciate the type of week that we're in for. As far as so as you know, the January 6th committee is going along swimmingly. Subpoenas are being issued. Steve Bannon is being brought on basically in violation of, he's being referred for criminal prosecution to the district attorney, the Justice Department, for refusing to honor a subpoena, two subpoenas, one for documents and one to actually show up. So he's already violated one part of the subpoena, and so he's going to be brought up on charges. And then if he fails to show up tomorrow, that's it. So that's strike two. What are you going to do? But here we go. It's going to be a great week. So I'm going to go all out. I'm going to go hard, as hard as I can. The hardest. Fireball. We'll have a little fireball. If I can get the damn thing open. Problem is these things like to stick, and I can't get them open. Well, this is going to be a conundrum. Ah, there it is. Probably should wash out that cap. It's getting probably sticky. Yeah, it's probably sticky. Oh, we're going to have a great week. Well, might as well get the week started. Get a little Andrew Seidel. Get a little reading done. To your health. Oh, that's good stuff. Got to be careful with that. I don't want to accidentally drink too much because it's easy go. It really is easy on the palate. Syrupy. Anyway, so we're going to get started with the founding myth. So Andrew Seidel's book. You know, another book I'd like to get into, and to be honest, I haven't read it all the way through. I started and then I stopped, and I've never been able to pick it up. And it's this one right here, Bob Woodward's Fear, Trump in the White House. Now, this is a book I bought over a year ago. Did I actually pay $30 for this? Wow. Let's see. Oh, this was 2018. Nice. So if you are interested, I can get into this book after we get through Andrew Seidel's founding myth. But yeah, I've always been wanting to. Well, another good reason for reading them aloud and online is it forces me to finish. It forces me to finish and get through it. And it's easy for me to pick up a book and just not finish it. It's just, I'm just working too much. But yeah, but doing this after work, it's perfect time. And it forces me to go through with it. So anyway, let's get on with the reading. Part 3, the 10 Commandments versus the Constitution. Love it already. Some Christian lawyers, some eminent and stupid judges have said and still say that the Ten Commandments are the foundation of all law. Nothing could be more absurd. And all that man has accomplished for the benefit of man since the close of the Dark Ages has been done in spite of the Old Testament. Robert Ingersoll, About the Holy Bible, a lecture, 1894. Oh boy. Earbuds are chirping. All right. If the sound goes out, let me know. When human laws do not tie men's hands from wickedness, religion too seldom does, and the most certain security which we have against violence is the security of the laws. John Trichard and Thomas Gordon, Cato's Letters, 1721. Men never do evil so completely and cheerfully as when they do it from religious conviction. Blaise Pascal, 1670. Wow. Chapter 13, which 10? All pay heed, the Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 15 drops, one of the 3 stones, tablets. Oi, 10 commandments for all to obey. Mel Brooks as Moses in History of the World, Part 1, 1981. Clever. Very good. I love it. Which one of the 10 commandments that's out there on the lawn of the Texas Capitol bothers you so much? I mean, which one of those is bad policy? Which one of those is so onerous to how we as people function? U.S. Secretary of Energy Rick Perry. Seriously? Before reading any further, go get a Bible and open it to the 10 Commandments. Go. I'll wait. This is not such a simple task. The 10 Commandments, also known as the Decalogue, supposedly the most moral law known to humanity, and supposedly authored by the biblical God himself, are not easy to find. They're not at the beginning of the Bible. God didn't give the rules to even Adam even after their fall, nor did he give them to Noah after exterminating all human and animal life save Noah's crew. And Noah needed a bit of moral guidance. Noah's son, Ham, accidentally walks in on him drunk, naked, and passed out. Refusing to take responsibility for his frat boy behavior, Noah curses an innocent child, Canaan, Ham's son, Noah's own grandson, to a life of slavery for Ham's crime, for seeing him naked. This was the only man the Jewish God thought moral enough to save from a worldwide flood. Yahweh did not see fit to give out the laws, his most moral laws, if Christian nationalists are to be believed, until much further along the biblical storyline. The first set, there are 4, doesn't appear until halfway through the second book of the Bible, Exodus. H.L. Mencken reportedly once quipped, "To say what you will about the 10 Commandments, you must always come back to a pleasant fact that there are only 10 of them." If this wit does indeed belong to Mencken, so does the error. There are not 10 commandments, but 4 different sets of 10 commandments. See comparison tables of 4 sets on pages 164 and 65. All right, we'll get to them. The first set was given to Moses on Mount Sinai in chapter 20 in Exodus, the latter written on stone tablets. There are 10 that Heston, DeMille, and Co. made famous. This set is probably what most people think of as the 10. According to the story, after 3 months wandering in a desert wilderness with little to eat or drink other than manna from heaven and water that they could squeeze from rocks, the vagabonds made camp at the base of Mount Sinai. Exhausted, starving, dehydrated, Moses climbs to the top of the 7,500-foot tall mountain and hears a voice he attributes to God. Is it any wonder 3 months of marching under the hot desert sun and then scaling a mountain? It would almost be odd if he hadn't been hearing disembodied voices. Moses descends the mount to present his people with their God's perfect law, only to find them worshiping a golden calf, an idol. Moses was so furious that his followers would break one of the commandments, a commandment on which they had not yet been instructed, that he smashed the stone tablets. The only physical evidence that a divine being had visited this world was in his hands, the most priceless object in all history, and possibly proof that God exists Yet the religious leader destroyed it before any of his followers got a chance to examine or even read it. This is suspicious, reckless, and a convenient dodge. Joseph Smith used a similar ploy when dictating the Book of Mormon. Smith claimed he discovered 2 golden plates etched with reformed Egyptian hieroglyphics. An angel led him to the plate, but also decreed that Smith could not show the plates to anyone. He translated the story on plates using a hat and magic seeing stone. Smith returned the plates to the angel after his translation was complete. All the priceless physical evidence of divine existence was destroyed or returned to the divine plane. You better return those heavenly library books back, or you're going to get heavily fined. Oh my God. Moses' destructive temper tantrum in Exodus 32 is even more suspect if one reads 32, 7, and 8, in which Yahweh tells Moses to go back down the mountain because his people have acted perversely and cast for themselves an image of a calf. Moses knew beforehand that they were worshiping an idol, and still he destroyed the tablets. Not content with simply destroying God's word, Moses ordered the slaughter of 3,000 of his brothers, friends, and neighbors for worshiping an idol. Moses commanded the priestly clan, the Levites, to put your sword on your side, each of you. Go back and forth from gate to gate throughout the camp, and each of you kill your brother, your friend, and your neighbor. They succeeded. The sons of Levi did as Moses commanded, and about 3,000 of the people fell on that day. The synonymous language Moses used in pronouncing the death sentence, your brother, your friend, and your neighbor, and the language the Exodus author used to describe those killed, 3,000 of the people fell on that day, is instructive for interpreting the commandments, as we shall see. Post-slaughter, Yahweh orders Moses to fashion new tables, give him the second set of 10 commandments in chapter 34 of Exodus. God kicks off this set by vowing to sweep all the current residents from the land he promised to Moses, thereby sealing his moral laws with genocide. God said, I will drive out before you the Ammonites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, Hivites, and the Jebusites. In this second set, and as payment for his role in a genocidal patron, Yahweh lays claim to all the firstborn of Israel, although he spares the firstborn human sons. All that first opens the womb is mine. All your male livestock, the firstborn of cow and sheep, the firstborn of a donkey, you shall redeem with a lamb, or if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. Redeem is the context, means substituting one sacrificial victim for another, such as a goat for a human. Also chapter 10. What does it say about a God who repeatedly orders his followers to kill their sons only to occasionally retract the death sentence at the last moment? Abraham and Isaac, this commandment, and later the sacrifice of Jesus. Filicide is common in the Bible. God himself says that sacrifices are meant to horrify his subjects. I defiled them through their very gifts in their offering up all their firstborn in order that I might horrify them so that they might know that I am the Lord. According to Ezekiel 20:26, Decalogue version 2.0 includes the prohibition on casting idols and the mandate to keep the Sabbath, but the similarities for the first set and there. God's final commandment of the second batch is to not boil a kid in its mother's milk. This refers to a baby goat, not a human child. Though, given the preceding filial sacrificial language in the sacrifice of a son in the New Testament, one can be forgiven for thinking otherwise. The differences between the first two sets of commandments, the Exodus sets, are particularly vexing for believers in the Bible's infallibility, because Yahweh says they should be identical, yet they're not. God says that he might write the same thing. The Lord said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the former ones, and I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets which you broke. But regarding the most moral, important laws, the biblical God could not keep his rules straight. The third set, issued in chapter 5 of Deuteronomy, is basically the same as the first. In the biblical narrative, the third set is really just Moses retelling the story of how he received the first set. But even the retelling is flawed because the Sabbath commandments of the third and the first sets don't match. The fourth set, issued later in Deuteronomy, is markedly different from the others, but it meets the criteria. There are commandments from Moses set in stone tablets. According to Moses, his followers must keep the entire commandment that I am commanding you today and set up large stones. Write on them all the words of this law and set up these stones about which I am commanding you today when they reach the promised land. This final set is not a list of prohibition or injunctions. Rather, it is a list of people who are cursed. Cursed be the so-and-sos. Among the cursed are those who make idols or fail to honor their parents. But otherwise, this bears little resemblance to the other sets. Much of the cursing is directed at sexual behavior. Okay, and I'm not going to read through the sets, but they're in this book. He does side-by-side comparison. So you can literally match them up and you can see that they don't match. So which 10 influenced our founding? The second set, or pact sealed with genocide and requiring the sacrifice, but redeeming of all the firstborn males? The final set, cursing anyone who lies with his mother-in-law? Is it the first set of 10 commandments, which is not even called the 10 commandments in the Bible? Oh, did I miss a behold? Yeah. But actually called the 10 words or 10 sayings. The English shorthand phrase of the commandments, the Decalogue, comes from the literal Greek translation deca, or 10, the log from logos, meaning word. The first time the phrase 10 commandments appears in the text, it refers to the second set, the set that ends with the kid mother's milk cooking prohibition. These intra-biblical differences are not the only conflicts among the 10 commandments that confuse the which 10 question. There are dozens of different English translations of Bibles, thousands of translations into other languages that render the commandments differently, all of which were translated, often several times, from ancient languages. The interbiblical differences are often more consequential than they seem at first. For instance, the New Revised Standard Version reads, "You shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God," while the King James Version reads, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain." The NRSV prohibits idols, but the KJV prohibits graven images. The KJV says, "Thou shalt not kill," while the other translation prohibits murder. There are not minor differences. The difference between prohibiting murder and prohibiting killing is the difference between outlawing the intentional or premeditated taking of a life, the outlawing even killing done in self-defense, in war, or to protect your child. Religious sects also interpret the commandments prohibiting art differently. Some think it prohibits idols. Some think it prohibits graven images. Some think it prohibits all religious art. These different interpretations split Christendom in the 8th and 9th centuries during the Byzantine iconoclasm of the iconoclastic controversy. Religious artwork was destroyed because it violated the commandment. Both sides of the controversy had their martyrs, all due to the interpretation of this minor discrepancy. Yeah, can you imagine all the works of art that were done by Greek artists, the carvings, busts, literal lifelike marble likenesses that were painstakingly done, all to be destroyed because of their interpretation of Scripture. Now, and it changed depending on what era you were in. Wow, I mean, that's not a minor discrepancy at all. Seemingly small differences are magnified because religious claims to possess ultimate truth on the basis of faith alone. Any deviation from an absolute truth is significant, and the deviations cannot be reasoned away because believing the truth requires faith, or the Catholic canon law puts it, a religious submission of the intellect and will. Certainly without reason breeds absurdity. An 18th century Christian group in Russia thought Jesus was not the Redeemer. Iskopitel, not sure what that word is, but castrator, and that God commanded they castrate themselves rather than be fruitful. Group members acted accordingly and cut off their genitals. The idea that Jesus was born of a virgin is a transliterative mistake that cannot be admitted because of religious certitude. The original Hebrew text labels Mary, Alma, Hebrew for young woman. This was mistranslated into Greek as Parthenos or virgin, even though there is a different Hebrew word for virgin. Oops. Minor variations are further magnified by believers' righteous superiority and the violence impended, or as James Madison put it, the torrents of blood that have been spilled trying to eliminate religious differences. Thomas Jefferson once asked whether these minor points of division could ever be eliminated and uniformly attained. He thought not. Millions of innocent men, women, and children since the introduction of Christianity have been burnt, tortured, fined, imprisoned, yet we have not advanced 1 inch towards uniformity. The religious coercion made one half the world fools and the other half hypocrites, and supported roguery and the error all over the earth. That was Thomas Jefferson's idea when he was asked, "Will there be a cohesion, a unification in Christendom?" And he said, "Nope, nope, probably not. Based on what we've seen so far, probably not going to happen." In addition to intra-biblical disparities, there are certain disparities. The various Jewish and Christian denominations have unique interpretations about which directive belongs to which commandment. The chart on page 168 is a simplified summary of these theological differences. Again, the numbering of the commandments may seem insignificant to modern readers, but Christianity warred with itself over this during the idol graven image controversy. The Catholic Church, so fond of its statutory art and gold leaf finery, buries the prohibition on graven images and expands the coveting prohibition into 2 commandments. The variety and intensity of these differences, intra-biblical and interbiblical and interreligious, complicate the claimed influence on America's founding. No kidding. So does the plethora of commands in the Bible. Mosaic law actually encompasses some 613 commandments found in the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. These 613 rules, known as the mitzvot, are as important in Judaism as the 10 Commandments. There is no biblical or theological reason to think that the 10 Commandments are special. Of course, one might argue that the real 10 are obviously those rules Yahweh handed to Moses, a literal gift from God. But if that makes them special, why did Moses destroy these God-given tablets? Furthermore, within the book of Exodus, there are actually 4 full chapters of laws which could be part of the first set of commandments. God speaks to Moses on Mount Sinai almost continuously from Exodus 20 to Exodus 31. Before finally carving the commandments into stone tablets in 31:18. Nothing sets off the first 10 commandments as more important than the rules God dictates in the 11 remaining chapters. As just noted, there are even 4 other books of law, all which must be followed. We are told to read the law and learn to fear the Lord his God, diligently observing all the words of this law and these statutes. All 613, not just 10. Note again that obedience to God is based on fear. These biblical books are clear. If you do not diligently observe all the words of this law that are written in this book, fearing this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, then the Lord will overwhelm both you and your offspring with severe and lasting afflictions and grievous and lasting maladies. We must take to heart all the words and give them as a command to your children, so that they may diligently observe all the words of this law. These 613 commandments include orders against erecting pillars in public places, communing with ghosts and spirits, performing magic, getting tattoos, and mating different species or planting different crops in the same field, or wearing fabrics woven from 2 different materials. Not at all the 613 mitzvot are so benign or visible. Some are undeniably divorced from anything that could be considered an American principle, such as the prohibitions on mixing fabrics and trimming facial hair. Others are downright barbaric. We can forego an examination of all 613 rules as a small charity to both the Christian nationalists and this reader. Thank you. Whew. However, these brutal laws are fair game for two reasons. First, Christian nationalists are careful to say that we are founded on Judeo Christian principles, not Christian principles. And the mitzvot came from the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament. Second, even if the Christian nationalists claimed that only Christian principles were influential, Jesus himself said that he came to uphold all 613 rules. Yes, he did. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I am not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I say unto you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law. This is not some passing reference. Jesus said it during the Sermon on the Mount. Despite no valid biblical, theological, or logical reason to hold the Ten Commandments special, our inquiry into the possible influences of Mosaic law on America's founding will be limited to them because that is what the Christian nationalists themselves emphasize. The Texas School Board altered its curriculum in 2014 to include Moses in American history because of his supposed influence on the Constitution. Oh my God, you'd have to be a complete idiot to believe that. I'm sorry. That's just laughable on its face. And it's so Texas, is it not? The Ten Commandments appear often illegally in government buildings, schools, and courthouses around the country. They appear at the Texas Capitol in Austin and on the robes of a judge in Alabama. They dot government property, courtesy of Cecil B. DeMille, who promoted his movie with granite monuments and some help from the Fraternal Order of Eagles. When Bloomfield, New Mexico, lost a court battle over a Ten Commandments monument displayed in front of City Hall, Mayor Scott Eckstein was surprised by the decision and had never really considered the judge ruling against it because it's a historical document, just like the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. Okay. The city's reliance on bad history cost the taxpayers $700,000. The commandments are ubiquitous, not just because of the Hollywood promoters, but because they are argued to be the basis of American law and morality. They are not. Every one of the 10 would be considered unconstitutional in our system. Every single one, including the commandments against killing and thievery. The 10 commandments conflict with our American principles so completely that they alone of the 613 amply prove that our nation is not founded on Mosaic law. You can thank God or whatever for that. Can you imagine if we upheld New Testament or Old Testament law? But yet there are Christian nationalists that want us to go back to that. They want us to start observing Old Testament law. Yeah, that's a big yikes. Can you imagine children being stoned to death for disobedience and rebellion? There you go. Or let's go back to burning witches. Let's bring back the Salem witch trials. One of these days, I'd like to do an expose on the Salem witch trials. I would like not just the Salem witch trials, but how people were deemed to be witches in colonial America. I would love to see. Maybe there's a historical book with the latest. Usually, as time progresses, more information comes out, and it's like, oh, well, we didn't know this. Good, we'll just have to add it in. So yeah, I'd be curious to know what information we have on that. The question remains, which 10 commandments were so influential on American law? Christian nationalists refuse to answer. The argument that America was founded on the 10 commandments is actually an argument that America was founded on one of the 4 discrepant sets of 10 rules selected, without reason, from more than 600 other rules, which were in turn plucked from one of the many divergent English translations, which was selected from any one of the hundreds of different Judeo-Christian sectarian interpretations of the Bible. When properly worded, the assertion is unconvincing, and that's putting it as mildly as possible. It is possible and indeed probable that Christian nationalists are ignorant about the imprecision of this religious 10 paramount rules. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia admitted as much in a case involving a 10 Commandment monument on government land. Quote, I doubt that most religious adherents are even aware that there are competing versions of the 10 Commandments with doctrinal consequences. I certainly was not. And if the country's leading originalist, a Catholic who believed in the literal existence of the devil, didn't know which set influenced Americans' founding, how would the average Christian nationalist? Excellent question. Many Americans' knowledge of the 10 Commandments come from Cecil B. DeMille and Charlton Heston and their Hollywood epic. Yeah, I have to agree. DeMille often felt accused of gingering up the Bible with large infusions of sex and violence. Really? Cecil B. DeMille's version is probably the most family-friendly version you'll ever get of the Bible. If Cecil B. DeMille, I mean, if he were to be honest in his portrayal of biblical stories, he would never have been allowed to work in Hollywood. They would have never greenlighted his epics, Samson and Delilah, the 10 Commandments. What else was a Cecil B. DeMille? I don't think he did Ben-Hur. That was somebody else. Let's see, Samson and Delilah. 10 Commandments. What was the another? I know he did another one. He didn't do very many, which was surprising. I mean, that was his niche. He should have stuck with that. But anyway, but no, I mean, gingering up the Bible with large infusions of sex and violence. Have you not read the damn thing? How in the world could you accuse Cecil B. DeMille of that? He said of these allegations, I can only wonder if my accusers have ever read certain parts of the Bible. Thank you. Thank you, Cecil B. DeMille. Thank you. Just what I was going to say. I don't think they've read the Bible. If they have, they may have just read them through that stained glass telescope which centuries of tradition and form have put between us and the men and women of flesh and blood who lived and wrote the Bible. Despite this insight, DeMille could not shatter America's stained glass view. DeMille's influence sadly means that most Americans, like Justice Scalia, are ignorant about the 10 Commandments. It also means that the first set of 10, which appear so prominently in DeMille's epic, is likely what most Americans think of when they think of the Decalogue. And although Protestants are no longer the majority of citizens, most religious Americans are Protestant. So for the purpose of this book, let's put the Protestant interpretation of the first set to answer. In the next 8 chapters, apparently unanswerable questions. Which 10? Yep, I'm liking it. I'm loving it. We are officially just past halfway through the book. Oh, yeah. Chapter 14, the threat display, the first commandment. The first 4 are arguably the most egregious because the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are in direct violation of the first 4 commandments. And I'm not going to get into them right now because I want to save it for the next chapter. Chapter 14 is going to start breaking down each commandment. and how it is absolutely against what this country is about and what it stands for. So it was a good read. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And I might take a little break from reading, give you guys all a break. I know there's only so much you could take of this, but that's good. I'm literally over halfway. We're at the halfway point. Actually, probably over half, because a big chunk of this is going to be references. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're not going to... Shit. That's it. That's all we've got left. That small little bit. Acknowledgements. Yeah, we're not going to read that. So, conclusion. Yes, I'm going to read the conclusion. Yeah, so we're almost we're over halfway. Shoot. We're at chapter 14. How many more chapters do we have? Let's take a look. Let's see. 3, which 10? Yeah. I think the chapters are going to start getting shorter and shorter. If they do, I might just read 2 chapters. Why not? Part 4 is probably... Once we get to part 4, the chapters are going to start really getting smaller. And that's okay. I've been enjoying this book. Excellent. All right, we'll see you all later. Don't know exactly when I'll see you, but it'll definitely be later when I do. Have a good night, everybody. Take care. Rest easy. Stay safe, please. That virus is out there. It means business. And take precautions, please. Take precautions. Even though you may be vaccinated, if you can avoid large gatherings and crowds, and it's getting to the point where we've all had to put our lives on hold, and it's getting old, isn't it? People are tired of having to social distance. People are tired of not being able to go out. People are tired of having to wear masks. And all because of a belligerent group who decided they're going to do whatever they want to do, and they don't care what they don't care what's right. They don't care about anything else. They're going to do what they're going to do. And it's allowed this virus to just continuously mutate, to continuously spread. I mean, we don't even know of all the variants that could come of this by the time everything is said and done. What variants are we going to have? And if we keep going at this rate, we're going to run out of letters in the Greek alphabet. And we're going to have to start naming them after regions. You know, just like they called it the Wuhan flu. Remember that shit? It's like there's a reason why we don't do that anymore, because of what political consequences and fallout come about. We used to call it the Spanish flu. We don't anymore. It's called H1N1. And the reason it was called the Spanish flu was because Spain decided to sit out the war in World War I. And Spain had nothing to do with the flu. Absolutely nothing to do with that flu in 1918. Absolutely nothing to do with it. But they decided for political reasons to stick it to Spain and say, well, we're going to call it the Spanish flu. It has nothing to do with Spain. It had nothing to do with it at all. And here we are, doing the same exact thing. It's like these ignorant, dumb fucks, I swear. Well, with that, I will say goodnight. Take care. Stay safe. See you on the flip side.